Hello everyone, welcome to your weekly focus video for the module of International Relation and Internal Security. So, few things were important this week on which there can be a question in both pre and mains. So, let's take our discussion topic by topic. And the first topic of our discussion is that recently the report has been released. That is the World Happiness Report. So, what sometimes these reports, there can be questions on such reports, statement-based question. First thing important to know is India is ranked 118th. Okay, so near about you need to remember the rank which has been given to India. Okay, so it is important only for the pre-perspective. Now, it's an annual report. Also important, other than India's rank, that it is published by whom? So, Wellbeing Research Center, that is the University of Oxford, in partnership with Gallup and UN Sustainable Development Solution Network. So it is not by World Bank, it is not by IMF, it is by Wellbeing Research Center in partnership with Gallup and the UN Sustainable Development Solution Network. So criteria, important. On which criteria ranks are being given. So a broader idea you need to have that it is taking 6 indicators. And try to remember these 6 indicators also. One is the income criteria, GDP, health life. So these are the criteria of our HDI also, Human Development Index, that is the per capita income and the life expectancy. Okay. Then perception of corruption. This is important. So India's rank has improved because the perception that corruption is reducing in the country. Freedom, another important criteria, that how much liberties people feel they have. Social support, that how much support government give for the weaker section, that is the welfare policies. And generosity, in general, what prevails in the society. So these are the 6 indicators. But why this is important for this year is that the question mark can be raised on the indicators which has been chosen to give a rank, because Pakistan is ranked above India, okay, in this particular index. So this is a bit controversial. So important, first rank, Finland is the happiest country for the 8th consecutive year, and Afghanistan the unhappiest. Okay. India's rank, you know this. So India has improved its rank. Then, but as I said, corruption has shown improvement, this perception. But important to know that in South Asian region, that is the SAARC region, India is ranked below than Nepal and Pakistan in the overall happiness. In fact, Ukraine and Palestine. And that is why question mark can be raised on the methodology which is being used to impart rank to a country. That so much of chaos and violence is there in Palestine. How come Palestine can rank above India and chaos in Pakistan, but still Pakistan is ranked above India? So on this, that is why a question mark has been raised on the indicators being chosen to give a rank to the state. But it is the indicators are important, and the rank of India and within SAARC region who are above India. These things are important, and who holds the first rank in the happiness index, that is the Scandinavian region, and out of that Finland. Okay. Now the second topic of our discussion is there was this editorial that India must act as a unifier in Indian Ocean region. Okay. So first thing, this editorial especially important for our mains perspective, that India should act as a unifier in the region. Other than this, there's an organization which is in the news, that is IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association. And this is important, IORA from pre-perspective. Okay. Now, the importance of the Indian Ocean is nothing new for us. Okay. And there was a Indian scholar who said that whosoever will control Indian Ocean will have India at its mercy, will control Indian subcontinent politically. Okay. And British was able to establish its political control over Indian subcontinent because of its naval supremacy among the European powers. And after independence, that is why after independence, India has always shown specific concern towards the Indian Ocean region, towards making its presence and influence felt in the region. Okay. Now, during Cold War, the geopolitics started hovering in this region as superpowers, that is, as there was a Cold War going on between the two superpowers, US and USR, and the US and the Western powers built military bases in the region. Reunion Island, France, and Diego Gracia, which we discussed in the last video, US built a naval military base here. Now, the presence of the Western forces here at that time was a challenge. Also, US built military alliances like SEATO and SEATO, that is Southeast Asian Treaty Organization, and CENTO, that is Central Treaty Organization. And because of the oil discoveries in the region, to ensure their energy security, this region became all more important for the West. Cold War over, and now the presence of the US forces, not a challenge, but China's presence and influence started to increase in the region. And the rising China presence and influence is becoming a challenge for us, as China is pursuing OBOR, which has two components, Belt Road Initiative and Maritime Silk Route. Under Maritime Silk Route, China is increasing its naval military presence in the region. And rising naval military presence of China is a strategic threat for India. Okay. India perceived this MSR as string of pearl of China. So already there has been a question in your mains about the string of pearl. So India perceived that China is trying to give a geopolitical angle. China is trying to give an economic angle to its geopolitical game plan. So basically, China's MSR, which China projects as economic policy, is a geopolitical game plan to surround India from all the sides within the region. And India is the core interest of India lies in the region, and presence of any other power here is a challenge for us. Okay, so this editorial was about this, that India needs to act as a unifier in the region. Now, so the position we hold, the only ocean which is named, which is holding the, which is out of the name of a country. There is no other ocean which takes the name of any country. Only ocean which takes the name of a country is Indian Ocean, reflects the importance and the prominence of India. This makes India one of the key stakeholders towards the security and the stability of the region. Now, IOR lacks a cohesive security framework. Okay. So there's a big question mark why it lacks a cohesive security framework. Why the Indian Ocean, those countries who lies along the periphery of Indian Ocean are not being able to form a cohesive security. The main reason is the countries in the region holds a diverse geopolitical interest, and they are more driven by self-interest. Okay. Rather than ensuring the security of the region, they are at crossroads. So, India's maritime security and the strategic interest of India in the region. The important organizations for which we need to hold the information from pre-perspective is IORA, SAARC, and BIMSTEC, stands for Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. Okay, their headquarters when they were constituted, and Indian Ocean Rim Association. Now, In the recent times, we have seen that the focus is shifting towards the Indo-Pacific rather than only focusing on Indian Ocean. Okay. And US more concern is about Indo-Pacific. Now, which region comprises Indo-Pacific? Indian Ocean plus Pacific Ocean. Basically, the word was Asia Pacific, but the US government in recent times has started using the word Indo-Pacific, emphasizing the centrality of India. Okay, not well taken by Pakistan and China. So now US focus is more on Indo-Pacific or Asia Pacific, and India under Act East is also aligning more in Asia Pacific with the West. So India cannot ignore the influence within Indian Ocean itself. Okay. So what are the security threats for India in the region? First, conflicts in Middle East, and might be you are aware of this. We discussed in the last few videos, the attack by Houthi rebels of Yemen. Okay. And that is why India wants a peace, as these waters being used for the transportation of oil tankers and the rising assertiveness of China within the Indian Ocean region. Okay. So from the tip of Africa, Cape of Good Hope, till the tip of South America comprises Indo-Pacific. And this is the Indian Ocean. Okay. So a lot in the news, and when in Mauritius recently PM Modi has went, he has said that we are going to strengthen our initiative of Sagar, that is security and growth of all in the region. So there can be a question on Sagar initiative. There can be a question on IORA, Indian Ocean Rim Association, in your pre-exam. So important is to know what exactly Sagar initiative is and a bit about IORA. Okay. So first thing, in 2015, India unveiled its strategic vision, that is security and growth for all in the region. Which region? Indian Ocean region. Focus on maritime security, maritime commons, and cooperation, means cooperation in this region. So through Sagar, we want to deepen our economic and security ties with the countries of Indian Ocean region, and focus on coastal surveillance, building infrastructure, and strengthening their capabilities. So basically, Sagar is a way to counter rising influence of China's through MSR. Now, when we see Sagar, it becomes all more important since India announced Act East policy in 2014. So in 91, we announced Look East. In 2014, we are saying it is Act East. In previous videos, again, I discussed the difference between Act East and Look East. So Act East is more strategic in its orientation, and 15, we announced the Sagar. So Sagar initiative is in conjunction with our Act East. And under Act East, India is aspiring to play the role of a net security provider plus focus on blue economy. So these are the two important words that India is aspiring in the recent times to become a net security provider in Asia Pacific region. And for this, indigenization of our defense capabilities is prerequisite, and focus on blue economy. So in this video itself, we'll discuss what exactly blue economy means. Okay. So maritime issues, ensuring maritime security and keeping our strategic influence intact in the region is one of the main aspect of our foreign policy. Okay. So what blue economy means? Using oceans to ensure the food and the livelihood security, using oceans for trade perspective, as transportation is much cheaper, using oceans to ensure energy security, and much of the energy which will generate is non-polluting and renewable, also ensuring it to fetch these minerals and resources. Okay, so this becomes the aspect of blue economy. So under our Sagar initiative, okay, under our Act East, our focus is to become net security provider and focus on blue economy. So strengthening blue economy is one of the main aspect of our objective of reaching the objective of $5 trillion economy. Okay. So to play a bigger role in Indian Ocean region, India needs to focus on IORA. So what IORA is? It's the organization of 23 states bordering the Indian Ocean. Do check what is the status of US, Russia, and China within IORA. What is the challenge? The challenge, I said that, is that the countries who are in the region, they hold diverse interest. Okay. And they are more driven by self-interest. This is one of the major challenges of India's policy towards the Indian Ocean. There's a diversity of interest and self-driven interest politics which prevails in the region. So this is the major challenge. So as I said, do check the status of US, Russia, and China. Now, Pakistan also share coastline in Indian Ocean. But do check, is Pakistan a member of IORA or not? Okay. IORA, the 6 priority areas of Indian Ocean Rim Association are, again, maritime security, trade facilitation, management of fisheries, disaster management, scientific cooperation, and promotion of tourism and cultural exchanges, that is focus on our soft power too. Okay. So these are the important things on which there can be a question in our pre, that is the Sagar initiative, the blue economy, the Indian Ocean Rim Association. From mains perspective, India is aspiring to play a role of a net security provider in Asia Pacific region, or for US is using the word Indo-Pacific for Asia Pacific. Okay. Let's shift to the third topic of our discussion, that is India's recalibration with Taliban. Now, why this news is so important if India is engaging with Taliban? So for this, first you need to understand who is this, what is this political entity Taliban is, what it is, what led to its emergence. Okay. So can't go for detailed discussion about these issues in this video. Just an overview I have to give. So what led to its emergence? For what they are fighting for? What's their objective? And now power has come in the hand of the leaders of Taliban since 2021 with the withdrawal of US. Okay. So a quick overview to make you understand what exactly, for those who are not aware of this. So I'm sure those who have done the foundation thing, they understand all these aspects. But those who have not yet done the foundation and might have this doubt in the mind what exactly this entity and group Taliban is. And there are two Talibans, good Taliban and bad Taliban. So when we are recalibrating with Taliban, with which Taliban we are talking about? Okay. So first thing to know is that Taliban, the word Taliban comes from the word Talib. In Pashtun means the educated. So the fighters and the leaders of Taliban, they believe they are the student of Islam. So students of Islam created this political entity called the Taliban, right? So they believe in a harsh, inflexible interpretation of the Islamic law. So they have their own belief system and they want to govern the society of Afghanistan through their interpretation of Sharia law. When we say Islam as a religion, it has two sects, Shias and Sunnis. Within Sunnis, there are different sects too. And one of the sect is Wahhabism. So Wahhabis believe that their belief is the purest version of Islam. And they want to constitute a society based on Wahhabist teaching. That is that purest Islam which needs to be followed. So they want to implement the dress code, okay, the religious code, the cultural code, and they want to impose it all on all. That's why they are also known as Islamic fundamentalist. Now, many Afghans are followers of Sufism, and Wahhabis, if Wahhabis consider Wahhabis do not consider Sufis also as a follower of the real Islam. Worshipping graves is anti-Islamic in the belief system of the leaders of Taliban. Okay, so they want to forcibly counter any deviation from their belief. This is what the political entity Taliban's belief is. Okay. 1979, when Soviet entered into Afghanistan, it was a time of Cold War to protect the communist government in Afghanistan. And at that time, it was US and the West who started funding the fundamentalist factions within the society of Afghanistan to fight against the communists, because fundamentalists believe communists are non-believer of religion. Okay. Soviet left in 1989 and then civil war started within Afghanistan. Right? This led to the emergence of the group called Taliban. And Taliban as an entity created by Pashtuns. So majority fighters and the leaders within Taliban are of Pashtun. So there is no consensus among the scholars about this aspect also, that how much of the interpretation of their Islam is owned by Sharia. Are their interpretation coming from the Sharia law, or their interpretation is coming from Pashtun tribal life? Okay. That is the Pashtun tribal code, that is Pashtun Wali. So there is no consensus on this also, that how much their interpretation derives from Sharia or how much interpretation is coming from Pashtun tribal code. So this, once communists left and civil war started between the leaders of Northern Alliance and Pashtuns, later they created Taliban, and Taliban took over the political control in 96. And they imposed the Sharia and started suppressing the minorities. They bombed the Bamiyan images of Buddha, the UNESCO protected site. And Afghanistan became a religious society. And Taliban stands for Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. So this is their objective. And this is what led to their emergence. India, at that time, last time in 96, India refused to engage with Taliban as they took power through force and they were anti-liberties, suppressing human rights, suppressing the rights of the women. And it was Pakistan who gave recognition to the government of Taliban at that time in 96. Within hours, Pakistan gave. At that time, only 3 countries gave recognition to the government of Taliban: Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and UAE. Now, with time, things change, and Al-Qaeda did 9/11. And US started its global war against Taliban, blaming Taliban for sheltering Al-Qaeda. Taliban lost the power, and for years, US and NATO forces were there within Afghanistan, and Afghan Taliban fighting against the Western forces. And US and West looked towards the Pakistan, and they made Pakistan as their military ally in their war against the Taliban. But Pakistani military started playing double game. And covertly, they started backing and supporting Afghan Taliban. And they continued their war with West. Now we need to see the map of Pakistan. The Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan, this province, shares border with Afghanistan. And this Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is also dominated by majority people in this region. They are Pashtuns. Pashtuns wants to govern the region through Pashtun tribal code, and this region is not at all well integrated with the rest of the Pakistan. Pakistan, since independence, has invested all its energy along its eastern border, escalating tensions with India and ignoring the western border. And last week itself, we have seen a military attack by BLA. So a lot of chaos, hostility is emerging within Pakistan. And Pakistan's identity itself is weakening because Pakistan created only on the name of religion. Now, once NATO started its war, the Afghan fighters, Talibani Pashtun fighters, they entered into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The borders are porous. There are huge mountains with passes which cannot be fenced. And also Pashtuns till date has not accepted the legality of Durand line. So they consider creation of this state and giving it to Pakistan by the British as Western, it was injustice against them, and they have never accepted the legality of Durand line. And Pashtuns nurture the aspiration of Greater Pashtunistan. So Pashtun, when Talibani fighters, they entered here, and the fundamentalist factions of this region, they created an outfit called Tehreek-e-Taliban. And TIT declared its jihad against the state of Pakistan. So the military of Pakistan is fighting against TIT. And this is bad Taliban of Pakistan. And Afghan Taliban is a good Taliban of Pakistan. So when India has initiated the diplomatic talks, we have initiated with whom? Afghan Taliban. And Pakistan consider Tehreek-e-Taliban as a terrorist group. Okay. So with whom we are recalibrating? We are recalibrating with Afghan Taliban. And Afghan Taliban has took over power within Afghanistan since the withdrawal of EU. But now a new outfit is emerging within Afghanistan, northwestern region, that is ISK, Islamic State Khorasan. And ISK stands for Caliphate, that is the whole region under one Khalifa. So Taliban and ISK political objectives are different. That is why tensions are escalating between IS and Taliban. And for the countries of the region, including India, IS is a major threat, as Kashmir also comes under their aspiration of caliphate. Okay. So I hope this overview would have given you a bit of clarity about this group called Taliban. So last time India didn't engage with Taliban, but this time we are looking forward to engage with Taliban, and there's a clear shift within our foreign policy. Many believe that we should not engage with Taliban as it is suppressing the rights of the women and it is suppressing the liberties. But India at present is more realist and pragmatic, as Afghan Taliban has not given any anti-India statement. They have appreciated India's efforts within Afghanistan, and They understand India stands for the political stability of Afghanistan, and India is interested in the development of Afghanistan. Now, India wants to reach to Central Asia to fetch resources and the market. Only way for us to reach out to Central Asia is through Afghanistan. And we do not have a direct access to Afghanistan because POK is in the control of Pakistan. And this makes Iran a strategic partner of ours because through Iran we can reach to Afghanistan. And this makes Chabahar so important for us. And already we have invested very heavily in the region. So if India will not engage with, if somehow we will not be able to engage, it is possible. Afghan Taliban can take an anti-India stand. But if India fail to engage with Afghan Taliban, then it will serve the interest of China. And this is what China wants, that Pakistan should have its influence over Afghan Taliban against India. But this time dynamics has changed. Pakistan last time was able to do so, but this time dynamics has changed. As already tensions has escalated between Afghan Taliban and Pakistan because Pakistani military blame that Afghan Taliban is backing whom? Tehrik-e-Taliban, who is fighting against India, who is fighting against Pakistan. So the dynamics has changed very quickly in the region. Okay, so last time we decided to pursue a policy of non-engagement, but this time we are being more realist considering our national interests are at stake. Okay, so India is ready. So we have decided to increase our we have reopened our embassy there. So to keep our diplomatic presence there, we are secretary level talks with the ministers of Taliban. So we are sharing the discussion table with them. Okay. So reports are coming that we probably allow Taliban to have its embassy, means start off diplomatic ties with Taliban. This will going to change the dynamics of our engagement and it will be a setback for Pakistan. Okay. So what is our strategic motivation? One, to counter China. Second, to diminish the role of Pakistan. Okay. And third is our connectivity with Central Asia, where we are pursuing Connect to Central Asia policy. And under this, already we have invested very heavily. Okay. So what are the challenges? Ethical concerns, they suppress human rights, they are running a department of virtue and vice, they've created a religious police, they wants to suppress liberty, they are suppressing liberties, okay, and they want to assert their belief through force, okay. So these are the challenges. These points you can read later. So last topic of our discussion is Raisena Dialogue 2020. Just the factual things you need to know can be there in a question in pre. Okay, rather than dialogue, important is Five Eyes Alliance. On this, possibly there can be a question because in Raisena Dialogue, we invited directors of intelligence of Five Eyes Alliance. So this is this nothing to know. First thing, it's a multilateral conference held annually. Premier conference on geopolitics, most challenging issues faced by global community. So what is the objective of this dialogue? It is about discussing the global challenges faced by the community, multilateral conference. So premier conference on geopolitics. Important is who organized this. Sometimes these aspects UPSC do explore. It is ORF in partnership with ME. Okay. Theme of 2025, important to know, Kal Chakra. Now, what is five Eyes Alliance is an intelligence sharing network of 5 countries. These are the 5 countries. So they share intelligence with each other to counter terrorism, cyber warfare, and geopolitical conflicts. When it evolved, World War II. Okay. During that time, Five Eyes Alliance evolved, later joined by rest three. Okay. This is what you need to know. These are the counterterrorism, cyber security. Okay. So these were the things which were there this week. That is the happiness index, about Indian Ocean Rim Association, the Sagar Initiative, our engagement with Taliban, Raisena dialogue, and Five Eyes Alliance. Okay, na? Hopefully, this discussion will help you. If you already know about this as a revision, if you don't know this, these things were important. Just try to remember this much. There can be questions in pre from the discussion we did. We'll continue our discussion next week. Bye. Take care. Best wishes.